Passive music consumers are actually your typical kind of consumer. Rather than seeking out music actively, anticipating album releases, or finding bands on their own, they let music come to them through common discovery sources like radio and television. And studies show that radio still represents 60% of people in terms of 60% of people use it to discover music. 49% of people still use television. So they still represent the two main sources of music discovery. And the reason for this is that the average music listener, probably about 60 or 70%, is passive. And that means that instead of buying or actively seeking it out, like I said, they allow it to come to them through these discovery sources. And this was an epiphany for most of us because as music industry professionals, musicians, artists, managers, we tend to be very active in our music consumption habits. And so realizing that the average music listener is passive changes our approach. And we think that it's something important for the music industry to take note of, and that's that the average music listener is passive. And we ought to be more focused on reaching passive music listeners better and tapping that market more efficiently, and therefore increasing revenue as a whole. And so we looked at the services like Pandora and other internet radio that give personalized discovery recommendations, and we see how effective they are at reaching mostly active music consumers who want new music, but less so for the really passive music listeners and consumers who listen to radio and television. And we had an idea for how to take that internet-based recommendation system and bring it to passive music listeners in a whole new way. And so we had the idea of finding a way to take every song a person hears each day, every musical experience they have, pair it with the reaction they have to that music, and then put it through some sort of Pandora-like recommendation algorithm to find recommendations, but do it in a way that serves passive music listeners. And we think this would be a really cool service. It's something that's going to take a lot of development in terms of technology, and I'm sure people are working on it and getting started, but it was an idea we had that we think would be really beneficial in taking the benefits of digital technology and digital radio and bringing it to the masses and bringing it to the average consumer, and that's a passive consumer.